Hello, good evening, and welcome to another wonderful edition of Eye on Port, which is proudly brought to you by Goyle Company Limited, Serene Insurance, also Ghana Community Network Services, West Blue Consulting, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority. Folks, the proud media partner for this program is the Business and Financial Times, and if you tune in to GH1 tomorrow at 8:30 p.m., you should watch the abridged version of this program on that platform. Also on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. you should be watching the abridged version of this program. The Tuesday edition of Business and Financial Times should bring you quite a number of stories that would emerge from here, as well as the schedules of the vessels that are bringing your goods into the port. All of that will be in the Business and Financial Times. So we're going to talk about the railway or the rail industry. We're going to look at the significance of that industry. Now, you've seen that the port is expanding. The Tema port is already expanded. There's an executive instrument to extend the port of Takoradi. Quite a number of projects always, all the time going on at the Takoradi port. Now, we've seen some bulk jetty also being completed at that port. Beyond that, we also have a Keta port coming up. We also have quite a number of the Jamestown hub also coming up. All these things are happening, but people are asking, are we still going to rely on the road transportation that we've been using? Or it's about time that we have some intermodal, some mode of transportation to begin to cart some of the goods that we intend to export or import? Or we should just sit down and look while we struggle to use our road. So we're going to talk a lot about railway development in this country as an alternative means of transporting goods, if not even one of the best means of transporting goods. And I have the man who is responsible for that sector already seated in the studio. We'll be delving into this particular subject. If you're interested, if you're tired of the traffic you see in town and you want to have the best mode of transport, if you intend to import or export through the best modes of transport, and if you believe in the rail industry, the number that you can contribute on this program with via WhatsApp is 055901-177. This number you can send us a WhatsApp on and take part in the discourse. Also on Facebook, Eye on Port Ghana on Facebook, Eye on Port Ghana. We are streaming live, so you can join the conversation on there as we discuss the role of rail in multimodal connectivity and economic growth in Ghana. At the appropriate time, I will announce the number that you can call to share your comments and your thoughts with us, and we will endeavor to also share them with the rest of the world. We will be back pretty shortly, and I will introduce my guest.
Hi, fat semina any insia etne hohonsa. Na mpuso wo baby a unya insuo ni semina fa sanitizer akoko wom. Fegun sem nefa pepa unsa ho nyina sa wo yare a snefie na
obebi sa ho se ede na obeye pambra ususu se oni obi a wanya sa yare ni bi enye nhyiamu ana se wa ben obi a owo sa yare ni bi de se wo ye ni se obeto ohun punumu na wa frɛ number eda screen no so
shika wo fe ekomiye obanya wosa neke helane na ejake mo fiamo ehia nya wo fia ekomi koni watching COVID-19 na nike oba sumo ake oba wabo ye neke biane obanya ni otwa telephone number ni ona biane.
Here's innovation from Goyle that takes you further. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and Goyle has innovated to stay ahead. Expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. Goyle. Good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals. street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
So place the white side to your face and place the loops behind your ears as I demonstrate. Fit the wire mold to your nose and make sure you create a seal around the mask and your face. Remember, the mask should cover from the bridge of your nose to your chin. To remove the surgical face mask with loops, always remember to lean forward so that the mask does not come into contact with your chest. Do not touch the mask itself. Always remove by holding the straps. So hold on to the loops, leaning forward, gently remove the loops from behind your ears and dispose of your face mask in a bin. That is how to remove the surgical face mask with loops.
Welcome back to the program. So we're talking today about the role of rail in multimodal connectivity and economic growth in this country. And my guest in the studio already seated is the Honorable Minister of Railways Development and Member of Parliament for Esikado, Ketan constituency, Honorable Joe Garte. Honorable, good to see you. It's a pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to talk about this sensitive and all-important subject, but before then, tomorrow we are expected to have a new more or less regime happening in the port because the integrated customs management system, that's the ICUMS, is starting officially at the Tema port. That's going to be handled by the Unipass technology solely. You remember that somewhere around 28th of April, the Unipass technology was supposed to take over. So GCNet West Blue were asked to shut down. And then we realized that there were hitches, and so they were called back to assist and continue to be on until the end of the month of May. So beginning June 1st, the Unipass technology is solely implement the integrated customs management system. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Alan Tremantin, was in the port to assess the readiness of the people around the port. He met the Port and Harbours Authority, as well as the ICDs, the Inland Container Depots, as well as the Freight Forwarder Association. So there were a lot of discussions to ensure that they buy into the project and ensure its success. Let's listen, and we'll be back.
Ahead of the June 1 eventual rollout of the third phase of ICUMS nationwide, a high-ranked delegation of government officials has met with some stakeholders of the Tema Port community to ascertain their level of readiness for the implementation of the new customs management system. The meeting was also to address some concerns of stakeholders. The delegation consisted of the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin, and his deputy, Carlos Ahenkra, the Commissioner General of the GRA, Ameshadai Uwusu-Omwa, the Commissioner of Customs, Kenal Damwa, and the Tema Sector Commander of Customs, Joseph Eduche. The delegation met with the IT department and top management of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, representatives of inland container depots, as well as representation from the Committee of Freight Forwarder Associations. Alan Tremantin entreated the stakeholders to collaborate with the new operators to ensure that the new customs management system succeeds. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Amishadai Usuamwa, encouraged the stakeholders to stay committed to a successful implementation of the new system to help government achieve its single window objectives and improve trade facilitation and revenue generation. A letter dated the 25th May 2020, signed by the Acting Commissioner General of GRA, Amishadai Usuamwa, and distributed to the Tema Collection of Customs, the shipping lines and their association, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Meridian Port Services, Inland Container Depots, the MDAs operating in the port, freight forwarder associations, and other self-declarant importers outlined the following directives. 1. All shipping lines are to submit manifest into ICUMS for vessels arriving at or departing the Tema port. 2. All CCVRs acquired for BOE creation targeting manifest and bill of lading for vessels arriving later than 26th May 2020 shall be reprocessed in ICUMS. 3. BOEs already created or being created for manifest already submitted into GCNet or GCMS shall continue to be processed until 1st June 2020.
So we'll be keeping our eyes keenly on that particular development and see how it goes throughout next week and see how the Unipass technology handles the new integrated customs management system without the existing vendors that West Blue Consulting as well as the Ghana Community Network Services. In the meantime, we get back to our topic for today, and that's the role of rail in multimodal connectivity and economic growth in Ghana. So we're going to give you a background story of how rail has evolved in this country. Let's take a listen.
Railway operations began in 1898 under the Gold Coast Civil Service with headquarters in Sekindi. By 1903, the 330-kilometer rail line from Sekindi Takoradi to Kumasi had been completed. The headquarters was transferred to Takoradi after the building of Takoradi Harbour, and railways and ports were jointly administered as the Ghana Railway and Ports Authority. The original 304-kilometer Eastern Railway was built in 1923 by the British for the purpose of hauling minerals and cocoa. Construction of the Ghana Railway started before there were any port facilities, and locomotives and other equipment had to be lighted over the beach. The last line that was completed before independence was the Kotoku to the Huni Valley line, which was opened in 1956. Much of the infrastructure was constructed by the British colonial government prior to Ghana's independence in 1957 to transport commodities by connecting major mining areas to seaports. In 1976, railway was separated from ports as the Ghana Railway Corporation. The company enjoyed the status of a public corporation until 19th March 2001, when it became a limited liability company. Existing rail lines handled less than 2% of passenger and freight volumes in 2018. Rail lines are concentrated in the southern parts of the country, forming a triangle that connects Accra, Kumasi and Takoradi. According to the Oxford Business Group, over the years, the system has been largely neglected, with only 373-kilometer western line between Takoradi and Kumasi remaining partially operational out of the original track length of 1,300 kilometers. This has called for more attention to be given to the rail sector. It is believed that with an efficient railway network, Ghana's economy could derive several benefits which will translate into a reduction in the cost of living.
Okay, so that's a little bit background of what we know. It's the history of... Honorable, are you the first minister of solely responsible for railways in this country? Is it the first time we've ever?
Yes.
Well, for a long time I haven't known, but I don't know if there is some before I came in.
The closest we had was Professor Amir
Kumfi,
was
Ports and Railways. Yeah.
But this is the first time that we've had only railways. It's an indication of the focus of the president and of the government on this sector.
Yeah.
But yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say that I quite admired your little
background.
The background.
I see.
Only that if I could, it's accurate, but if I could just add a few things.
Go ahead, please.
First of all, the interesting thing about this background is that, as you said correctly, the entire story started in 1898 in the Western region. Now, it was done mainly because of minerals. At that time, the gold was not even washed in Ghana or the then Gold Coast. They picked all the soil, put it in a ship, on a ship, and took it abroad. So that's the reason why they started railway in the Western region, was to be able to take the soil, which included gold, and take it to the United Kingdom.
Interesting.
And that's what now we don't do. That's what we do with our manganese now. We don't process our manganese here. We don't process our bauxite here.
And that's why. And
we go. And gold was like that. And that's why the president says that no, we have to start processing here, because I mean we can't continue after over 100 years to still be just hewers of wood and drawers of water. We can't continue just to be taking our raw material.
No, but there were other things or other products that were also moved out when they.
The reason why
the gold.
I'm coming to that. The reason why the railway was started was to carry the gold. It was for the purpose of carrying. Only. They had no other reason. They just wanted to carry the gold. It was a mineral line.
But and that was in the 19th century.
Yes, but the interesting thing that happened, they started in 1898, the 19th century, and came to the 20th century. But don't forget that in 1876, Tete Kwashi had also brought cocoa to the eastern part of the then Gold Coast, and somehow it moved to the western part of the then Gold Coast. And the cocoa farmers who were there, the peasant farmers who saw the railway going up and down, realized that they can put their cocoa in the train. Originally, they used to carry it one sack at a time, to the coast. Imagine carrying your cocoa from Dunko on your head to the coast. How long will it take you? How much cocoa can you carry? Even at independence, we were only 6 million people. So at that time, how many people were even living in that part of the Gold Coast? If all of them were even engaged in the business of carrying the cocoa, how much cocoa could they carry? And then they saw this train going up and down and started putting their cocoa in it. By 1930, and this is something anybody can check. It's online. It's research from London School of Economics. Cocoa had become so important in the Gold Coast that the then Gold Coast had become the richest colony in British Africa. And so basically, cocoa became cocoa because of rail, not even because of improved agricultural methods. Now, remember that at that time, the Gold Coast was less than a third of Ghana, because the Gold Coast barely passed Kumasi. And Kumasi to Accra is less than a third of today's Ghana. I mean, the northern territories and all of that were not even part of today's Ghana. What is the water? Parts of water now was not even part of the Gold Coast then. So for me, this story is exciting because it tells me clearly that even though we have envisaged, we have planned, we think this will change the economy, it will change it in ways we haven't even envisaged. And in 20-30 years' time, when we have an efficient railway service crisscrossing Ghana, we finished our master plan, the benefits that will come to us as a nation, it is something that me and you cannot today even envisage.
So give me a sense of what you inherited, the responsibility you took when you were sworn in, and what has changed now.
I don't know whether you want to remind me of a nightmare. I mean,
which one is that?
The nightmare is a responsibility. I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah, Chief. The British left, like you rightly said, as 947 kilometers. The last line they did was the Kotoku-Huni Valley line, which is 198 kilometers, which joined the western line, which goes from Sekendi Takrari to Kumasi, and the eastern line, which goes from Accra Tema to Kumasi. So it was like an A, like a typical A. By the time I became a minister, what was left was barely 10% of this line. And even that 10% was barely working. The last time a train went to Kumasi to Accra is 2001 on the eastern line. On the western line, I think it's 2004. You are talking about me becoming a minister in 2017. What did we have left? We had the Accra Tema line. And you know, I say something and I paraphrase the president or say what the president says that one of the tragedies of our post-colonial development is that we developed the railway. And read my lips very carefully. The president does not even ascribe it to political parties or this era. He says post-colonial development. Because if for 59 years, from 1898 to 1957, we are left with 947 kilometers, And then from 1957 to 2017, we have barely 100 kilometers left. It is a tragedy. It means we neglected it. What did we have? We had Accra Tema Line, which was running. The Accra Tema Line collapsed during the Kufuor era. During the Kufuor era, Mia Kumfi era, what was done was from Accra to Asapochuna. And then also, that was the first time that in 2006, we imported these Ghana flag trains, diesel multiple units. And a diesel multiple unit is a train which has engines at both sides. So what did we do from 2001 to 2009? We did Accra to Asapochuna, about 17 kilometers. And according to the railway people, it involved quite a lot of work at that time, because at that time the airport too was doing some work. So they had to divert some of the lines, Manette Court area and so on. A lot of their land had been taken over. Come 2009, at the President Mills, President Mahama administration, they continued the Asapochun line another 4 kilometers to Tema Committee 1. Yeah. Then also they did Sekendi to Takrady.
The Kojo Chrome to the Tema Port 1?
No,
to the Takrady Port 1?
Well, the interesting thing about that line is that it does not enter the Takrady Port. The Takrady station is outside the Takrady Port. It doesn't enter the Takrady. So it's from Sekendi to Kojo Chrome to Takrady station.
And that's because maybe, is it not because maybe it's a purely passenger, and so it doesn't have to get into the port?
Well, please, I don't pretend to know the entire story. I don't know the thinking behind that. But in all the lines that I'm doing cargo and passenger. I mean, we don't have money to do just passenger.
Both.
And just, so I do a line which both trains can go on. But I'm sure there was thinking behind at that time. But anyway, that also was about 15 kilometers of railway line.
Yeah.
So that one was also running. Then also you had the line that went to Insuta for the manganese.
Yeah.
And that was about 58 kilometers. But the manganese line was it was in so much trouble that, I mean, 2016, 2017, they were getting an average of a derailment or 2 a day. But it never made news because it's just sand. So when sand falls on sand, dust to dust, ash to ash, they just put it back up and go. So that is basically what we were running. We were running a system that basically had collapsed. Mm. All the old coaches and so on were scattered around the country. Some of them had been sold as scrap and so on and so forth.
How many were they though?
Well, the ones that were sold, about 100 were sold as scrap. Okay. In 2016, about 100
coaches.
Old coaches were sold as scrap in 2016. People say that they were really scrap and so on. Well, I didn't see the coaches, so I'm not going to argue about that. But when I came in, I saw the coaches, and they told me they are going to continue the process of selling. I said, no, they are not. When I see these coaches, you can fix them. Mm. And they fixed them.
Okay.
And just
so they fixed some of them?
Yes, when I came and saw it, I let them fix them. And so the train that goes to Nsawam is a rehabilitated train. Yeah. And the passenger train that goes to Takwa is also a rehabilitated train. The passenger train that goes to Nsawam is a blue train, and the passenger train that goes to Takwa is a green and yellow train. Now, if you look at our passenger numbers, even before we come to cargo, if you look at our passenger numbers, clearly our trains are not sufficient for the demand. In addition to the fact that post-COVID-19, now we can't pack our trains as well. And so we need more passenger trains. And so we are taking steps to get a few more passenger trains from South Africa, from Transnet.
Okay.
Yes, and so hopefully in June, we'll hope to sign the contracts to get a few more trains. But we're not buying a lot of trains because our entire network is a narrow gauge network. Mm. A gauge is the distance between the two tracks. And we have narrow gauge and we have standard gauge. Don't bother about narrow is narrow and standard is standard, yes. We are using standard gauge for 2 reasons. First of all, standard gauge is a gauge that the AU and the ECOWAS have said that the entire Africa should use. So we can have a train that will take off from Djibouti and come all the way to Ghana. And in East Africa, they are doing cross-country railway lines. You know that, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and so on and so forth. We started hopefully doing it in Ghana, Burkina. I hope we'll have time to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
so there's a standardization across the entire
standardization. So the narrow gauge trains, we are not going to buy a lot, okay. 2 or 3. just for the passenger services.
Okay.
But the standard gauge trains, we are buying about over 30.
Over 30
yes.
standard gauge trains.
Yes.
By June this year.
No, we are not buying it by June this year. We are ordering the narrow gauge trains by June this year.
Okay.
The standard gauge trains are
and then narrow ones are 3, you mentioned, sorry.
Sorry, the narrow gauge are 3 or 4.
Okay.
We are seeking advice from the Ghana Railway Company Limited,
okay,
for them to tell us, looking at their figures and so on, how many trains that they will need.
Okay.
And I hope you show the trains. But the standard gauge is over 30. It's over 30 because that's the new network. And that one, we've already gotten approval. We are buying it from a company in China. We've already gotten approval. It's about $230 million of trains. And what is happening is that we are now agreeing, our technical committee and the Chinese technical committee are agreeing on the specifications. Okay. Once they agree on the specifications, we'll sign the particulars of the contract, and then we order. But you know, a train does not just sit down. You have to order before they bring it. So when we order now, it will not come this year. It will come in about 18 months' time.
But when do you hope to order, though? The standard ones,
we are ready.
Which is about 30, they're about, you mentioned.
About 30. We are ready to order. We'll order it in June. We order, we sign the contract, we take it to Parliament. We want to complete the process before Parliament rises.
Okay. I'm trying to get hold of those figures and the duration because I see a lot of interest on that one. Okay. You are saying that we are ordering about 30 of the standard gauges.
More than 30.
More than 30 of them. So yeah. By June.
In June.
In June.
Yes.
The same with the 3 or 4 narrow gauge coaches.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The narrow gauge trains that we are ordering are just going to be passenger trains. And the Ghana Railway Company will use it on its existing narrow gauge lines.
Yeah.
Which is Accra Tema, Accra to Isawu.
Yeah.
Kojokrom to, Sekendi to Takoradi, and from Takoradi to Takwa. The Ghana Railway Company Limited has 4, and the strategy is that they are going to maintain those passenger lines. We are not going further with a narrow gauge. The reason is very simple. Once you leave those places, then you have to reconstruct the line. We are not constructing new narrow gauge lines because the Old Testament. When you look at after Huni Valley, for example, then you are entering into Galamsey territory.
Yeah.
And we may have to reconstruct major portions of the lines. So we are not going to construct new narrow gauge lines.
Okay.
Also, after Saum, there are problems there. So all that will be new standard gauge lines.
Okay. So beyond these, and this is very, if we are to see these trains, I'm sure that a lot of people will be excited because a lot of people, and we're going to play a footage of expectations of people when it comes to using trains as against being in the traffic with buses and all of that, and we'll come to that part. But beyond the expectation of these trains, what else was your vision and what was your target when you assumed office about 3.5 years ago, thereabout, regarding, let's say, rail connectivity from the Eastern Corridor? So then you're looking at the Mpakadan all the way to Dapegusu, Mpakadan, Dambai, Ketekrachi, and then hitting Bupe and then going to the north. And then looking at the central spine so that you look Kumasi, you know, that route all the way again to the north. What vision towards that angle did you have?
Okay, we had, why did you leave? I don't know whether you have a problem with the Western region.
I'll come there because I use the central spine.
I take exception to that because
because there's a lot loaded on the Western region, and I'm going to do a lot of questioning on that side because of manganese and bauxite. Yes. Because as we speak, we're doing, I think it's only manganese that's coming to the port via train.
Yes.
And that says about 5% of manganese. Yes. 95% of manganese are no longer coming by train. So the Western region, I'll put serious emphasis on that when we get there.
Thank you.
Just talk about.
So let me talk about these two. Okay, you know what the president said that I'll go to Paga. You know, unlike for human beings, we are not like God in the Genesis that we can say let there be light and there will be light. I'll go to Paga. Then we have to start planning towards how we'll get to Paga. Now we had options. The options, as you know, as being a portman, is either to go from Takoradi or to go from Tema. Very quickly, it was agreed that we will go to Paga from Tema.
Yeah.
because that's where most of their goods pass in any event. I mean, you're not going to recreate the wheel. And as you said, there's already a lot of cargo in the western region already.
Yeah.
So if you also go from Paga to Takoradi, you create more traffic there, you may need more lines and so on. And then the question was that we can get to Paga in 2 ways. We can go through Kumasi, through the central spine from Kumasi to Tamale to Paga, and we can also go through the eastern corridor. We decided to do both. We decided
both at the same time.
Yes, we decided it's not a zero-sum game, either or, because each has its different advantages and nuances. If you are going to Paga through the Kumasi route, it's not just about Paga. Accra to Kumasi, Bonkran Inland Port and all of that. It's serious
business,
traffic. It's serious business and traffic. So even though you are going to Paga through that route, on the way you are doing business. Then you start from Kumasi to Tamale, that what used to be the Brown Hafu region, if I can call it that. That is a food basket of Ghana.
Bread basket.
It's the bread basket of Ghana. And there's enough evidence that once they strain, the prices of food go down. And we know in the inflation basket what food is in the inflation basket. So if we have a cheaper method of carrying our food down to the south from that area, definitely it will bring the price of food down. So it wasn't an either or situation.
Okay.
And so we decided that we'll do both at the same time. However, we decided that we'll use different models to do both. Now let me tell you, our entire network that we plan to do is about 3,800 kilometers. Now if you average, and remember that of these 3,800 kilometers, it's only 947 kilometers which already exists. So there's a right of way and you have land and so on. So the rest of it is greenfield. You have to buy land, you have to do compensation. So let's average it at $6 million per kilometer.
And even the ones that existed,
there are problems there. There are problems of encroachment and so on. They also have their problems. So if we average it at $6 million per kilometer, please, I'm not saying $6 million per kilometer, so the people who are negotiating with that says that the minister said this is no. Some of it is cheaper. Okay. Some of it is more expensive. But I'm just giving you a nice average.
But the average is 6 million per kilo?
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm saying that even if we average it, you average on the high side.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places which we are doing at $4 million, $4.5 million per kilometer just now. But there are places, a few places which will go higher than the $6 million per kilometer. But if we average it at 6, or even let's take 5 for the sake of argument. $5 million per kilometer, and you times it by 3,008
kilometers.
You tell me how much.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Billions of dollars, not cedis. It's about a third of our GDP.
It's about 20-something, over 20
something. Our GDP is 70-something billion. And so we are not, it's about a quarter of our GDP, a little less than a quarter of our GDP. We can't borrow that amount of money just for railway. It's a Fiscal Responsibility Act. You can't just borrow ad infinitum. So you have to look at different financial models for different sections of the line. So we decided that the Accra-Kumasi line will be done on a BOT with government participation. Government participation because the feasibility study that was done by the Pricewaterhouse indicated that there was a financial viability gap. And the financial viability gap meant that you needed a little top-up before it becomes viable for BOT. Government has agreed to put that money in. So government has agreed to put that money in for the financial, to make up the financial viability gap. And we have gone through the procurement process. When you are doing BOT, the procurement process takes a little more time than when you are just going to borrow money. And so it is our prayer that this year, before Parliament rises, we can finish the paperwork, we can finish the negotiation and be able to take the agreement to Parliament, for Parliament to approve, the BOT for Parliament to approve, and then we are ready to roll.
This is for the Central Spine one, or
this
the
Accra-Kumasi line.
Okay.
Now the Central Spine one, it was because it was totally greenfield, we had to engage consultants to go on the line, choose the route, do the social impact, environmental impact, economic impact, financial impact. I mean, the work they did was wonderful. They marked, actually walked the route, Like, you know, when they are surveyors are surveying a road and something like that, they finish their work. There were 3 different routes out of Kumasi that they suggested. They always suggest alternatives. One was through Edum Swami Strait. I mean, that was a no-go because you have to break down family houses and so on. I mean, and we don't have a right of way there. The second one was to come back to Ejisu and then go around through Mampong and so on to Ofinso, that area. And the third one was to come back to Eduading and then go through there to Siai and Tichima. The one that we recommended, the ministry recommended to government, we recommended is the one that goes through Kumasi, Eduading, and then that area, because also it puts you close to Yinehini. It puts you close to the Yinehini.
The iron ore area.
No, Yinehini is not iron ore. Iron ore is Sheni.
Shehini.
Yes, yeah. Yinehini is our great aluminium reserve.
Okay.
Bauxite reserve, sorry. Aluminium and bauxite reserve. So it takes you close to Yinehini. Yinehini is 58 kilometers away from Kumasi. So we have finished the detailed feasibility on that line. Where it's going to be approved soon, this month, sorry. And then we'll look at the method which we are going to use to finance that line. Because between Kumasi and Tamale, my feeling just now and the feeling of the consultant is that government will have to put its own money inside. That's that gap to fill it. That will be the gap for us to fill. So what will happen in the various lines is that government will be putting its money in various parts of the line, but we will also be looking for strategic partners. Okay. Let me give you the example of the Ghana to the Burkina line. The Ghana to Burkina line, the president said, I'm going to Paga. And so one of the ways we decided that we will go to Paga is through the Eastern Corridor. At that time, in 2007, under Professor Amir Kumfi, a project, which was a port-to-port project from Tema to Bupe, through Akosombo, a multimodal process, rail and then through the water, was developed. They started the feasibility study, they gave them the feasibility study, started looking for the money, and then we lost power. When I say we NPP, NDC came, they continued, and then in 2016, they signed a contract, brought it to Parliament with Indian Exim for Tema to Akosombo. When I became a minister in February, I went to look at the line. And what I realized, and you see that between 2007 and 2017, a lot had happened. I mean, terrorism had come and so on and so forth. So I became concerned that the line was going into Akosombo, into the dam area. It was going to locate itself where they do the Princess, where the Akosombo port is. That's where it was going. And you know where the Akosombo port is? It goes through Akosombo itself. When I looked at the drawings, it was at a certain point about 60 meters away from the dam. Chief, it's good sometimes to be simple in mind. I'm just a simple lawyer. So I asked the engineers with me that this thing cannot affect the dam. And they started arguing with themselves. Some people said it won't affect the dam because they were drilling through rock. Some people said it won't affect the dam because they can do controlled drilling and so on. Some of the engineers said it may affect the dam. So I said, well, you think about it and give me a response. By March, they have written to me that they won't advise because our dam really is clay and stone around it. They won't advise that we drill
through the Akosombo,
through the rock,
to
the Dodi Princess. So we should forget our project.
So you tweaked the plan then?
Then we took the plan B, where we detoured across, just behind the hotel. What's it called? Senchi. Just behind Senchi, we crossed the river, and then we also converted it into the first phase of the Paga, of the Ouagadougou to Tema line. And so we added a 30 meters river across the Water River. We added about 17 kilometers, about 12 kilometers in the line, and also now it goes to Ipakadan rather than to Akosombo.
Going through Akosombo.
And to Akosombo port. Another reason why we diverted is that, in my view, and in the view of government, rail is just a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And so it has to locate itself at places where there can be further development. Just now, because it's going to Pakadan, people want to build a new city around the Pakadan area. We have investors from Singapore dealing with some of our major real estate people here who are seeking to build a major city in that area. When you get to the Japan area, people are seeking to build not a Bankra kind of thing, but some kind of inland free zone area or something, so that when the train starts working, all the goods that are coming from the water region, before at least the train line goes there, you can just locate yourself around the Japan area and put it in train and come to Accra. So the kind of development that people are thinking about in that area is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good thing.
Yeah, so it's growing the economic development around that area.
Yeah.
But this is supposed to be the stretch from Tema to Mpakadan.
Yeah.
And that stretch is supposed to go all the way to Paga, as I mentioned, so
Yes.
using the Eastern Corridor.
Yeah.
But up to Mpakadan is a very short one. If you compare with the rest that will be left all the way to, let's say, Paga, before the Ouagadougou one would come and then link up. Which ones have you done? Have you done from Tema to Mpakadan, or you have gone beyond Mpakadan?
Okay. From
and what's
Tema,
the state?
let me give you, from Tema to Ouagadougou is about 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Out of that, about 300 kilometers is in Ouagadougou, is in Burkina Faso. So we have about 700 kilometers on our side.
The 700?
About 700 kilometers.
Okay, so 300 on the the Burkina side.
Yes.
That is coming from Ouagadougou to, let's say, Dakola.
Yes.
That's the border there.
Yes. And then from Paga to Tema, through our side, is about 700 kilometers.
Yeah, okay.
Now, like I said to you, from originally, the line was going to Akosombo. But from kilometer 56, or 50 something, we've changed it. So now it goes to Mpakadan.
Which is?
And it's about 97 kilometers to Mpakadan.
Okay.
But if you know the geography of the place well, it crosses the road that goes to Ho. It crosses it around Japo. And then it goes back towards the Volta River. So so where it crosses it is about kilometer 90.
Okay.
And so what will happen is that the line to Ouaga will take off from Japo.
Okay.
Will take off from kilometer 90. So it means that for us, we have 90 takeout, 610 kilometers to go.
Yeah.
For us to reach Paga.
Paga.
What do we do there? It's a greenfield investment, totally greenfield. The line hasn't gone there before. So the past 2.5 years, consultants have been walking the line, doing the environmental impact, where will the line go, how much will it cost, and so on, because we are offering it as a BOT.
Okay.
Now, if you are offering something as a BOT, if you are selling your phone to me, you must know the cost of the phone. You can't sell your phone to me if you don't know the cost of the phone. And if you don't go through that process of the entire study to come to what they call the feed, the front-end engineering design, where you can estimate that this is how much this kilometer will cost. And let me tell you something, a kilometer does not cost the same on that line. Depends on the topography and everything. For example, the branch line that we have to hold, because the president insisted that every regional capital must be connected to the railway network. The branch line we have to hold, for example, is arguably one of the most expensive lines that we have. It's competing with the line that we have in the western region after a shape, the viaduct, the 350 kilometer viaduct, which hopefully you see. That is about $8-9 million per kilometer because of where it is passing, because of the hilly nature of the terrain and so on. And so what they did was that afterwards they came to give us three different alternatives, and we chose one. The one we chose is the one that goes through Hohoi and so on. You have it in front of you. I hope you can show it.
Yeah.
And then a branch line to Ho. It goes up to Yendi, a branch line to Dambai. There's another branch line to Sheni. And Sheni, because that is where iron ore is. And you cannot develop an iron ore sector without the railway line. Then from there it goes to Tamale, which is the regional capital. It goes to Boga. On the way, there's a branch line to Narebu, which is the capital of Northeast. Then it proceeds to Paga. And so straight is about 700, like I said,
yeah, 700 all in all.
All in all.
So
at this stage, what has happened is that we didn't wait to finish the feasibility before we did other things.
Okay.
At the same time, we started the procurement process.
For the remaining 610 thereabouts?
No, up to including the Ouagadougou one.
Okay.
Because we want one company
to do all.
Ghana, Burkina, one company should do all.
Okay.
And become
and
a
Burkina
partner.
and Ghana has agreed on that. That one company does that.
Yes. Before we set up a joint committee of experts, and I must congratulate my deputy minister, Honorable Apia Kubi, and also what do you call it? There's a team. Shippers Authority is part of it. Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Finance, a complete team, and they were meeting almost every 2 weeks in Ghana and Burkina, ironing this thing out. So what is happening is that they started the procurement process. 12 people started, 12 companies started. There are 3 companies left, and so next week we are going to get the final report. And when we get the final report and we give them the go-ahead, in June they should be able to issue the final documents to the 3 companies that have been shortlisted, and that those 3 companies will bring their proposals, and they'll be able to choose. Hopefully, all things being equal, by October, November, we could have awarded a contract to the company that has won to do the rest of the Ghana-Burkina line.
And that's about 700 kilometers. That's a good. So the preparatory work has been done for that, or
totally,
almost.
And no, not almost. We are getting a final report. I get a final report next week.
Next week.
In fact, what happened was that in March, first week of March of this year, Ghana and Burkina met in Bogota. I was there. It was before all this
COVID stuff came in.
Business came in, and at that time we met, and then we agreed that there were certain things that we wanted to be put into the report. So they were supposed to go and do it and bring it to us, and we'll meet in 2 weeks' time.
And
but they say man proposes and God disposes.
Okay, so then you have this remaining, that's about, I would say 79. So the Tema to Mpakadan one, that one work is on there.
Yes.
What's the percentage of completion there?
Well, I asked the consultants before we came, and they told me that the 97 kilometers, the percentage of completion is about 60%.
About 60%.
And they said they base it on their certificates, the entry payment certificates they've passed. And they've passed 24 so far. And you know, when you pass an entry payment certificate, it is on the basis of work that has been done, and the consultant will certify. But when I say 60% of the work, in terms of track work is about 53 kilometers. But it's not 53 in one stretch. There are places where there are gaps, maybe because there's an encroachment problem. Because you have to not detour. We are going to deal with that, but there's an encroachment problem. We'll break the building, not detour. We'll pay compensation. Or because, for example, the bridges, they are not filling the bridges. If you look at the motorway, what was on top of the motor, after the motorway going towards Aflao, we pass across. They are now crossing that bridge and so on. And of course, the thing that disturbed us the most was that they were about to do the 300 meters across the Water River, and this infamous COVID came, and COVID affected them. When the president made this announcement, locking down, he excluded railway and roads, thankfully. But what happened was that over 70 people in that camp caught the disease.
Over 70 workers 70 people caught the railway.
Yes,
I see.
There, on that line, at the Pong camp. But
Ghanaians or foreigners?
Foreigners.
Okay.
Just 2 Ghanaians or so. But thanks be to God, all of them have recovered.
Okay.
And the Ministry of Health in Eastern Region has written last week that all have recovered.
Okay. But so when are they going back to work?
Oh, it's a process. Maybe next week. They write through their own processes, and then we give them.
So did that halt the work?
Completely. They stopped.
For how long then?
Since lockdown.
I see.
They stopped completely.
Because over 70 of them got.
It started with 2. Then as they did the check, at the end of the day,
more people had it.
Yeah, 70. They stopped work completely. And that gang, or that group, that camp, the Pong camp, were the people who were going to do the bridge. Because remember that the president went there in December, and they told the president that by August this year they would have finished. But that's not possible. We can't fool ourselves. They are not magicians. They've stopped work for I don't know how long. I mean.
So do we have, or are they talking to you about some other tentative dates?
When it depends on when they've given us certain scenarios. It depends on when they are given the permission to start again and so on. All our work across the railway sector has been affected by COVID. Those who are working, those who intended to work, Ghana Railway Company revenues have gone down. They had to shut down their passenger services because people didn't want to observe social distancing. And if you don't observe, if they also insist on the social distancing, what happens is that they run at a massive loss because they don't have enough people. So, I mean, the railway, COVID is not our friend. I don't know what sector COVID is
favored. So Accra Kumasi BOT is on there. Mpakadan all the way to Paga, the feasibility and grants work and all of that happening. Tema to Mpakadan almost 60% complete and ongoing. Halted because COVID, about 70% of your folks got COVID. These are the national lines.
No, you have forgotten.
Which one? I'm not coming there.
But it's also a national line.
No, I'm coming. I'm coming to. I'm coming to the Western. The Takwa.
I like you. Otherwise, I walk off.
You can walk off because of Western people. And I know that the Paramount Chief is also watching us, and he knows that I won't do him in when it comes to Western region. And I've got brackets here. Good to know that you're also following. But let me. So these are the background. I just wanted to get it right. Accra Kumasi, you have a BOT going. You also have preparatory works on the Mpakadan to Paga going, and of course the Burkinabés are meeting you from Waga to Dakula.
And also the central spine, from Accra to Kumasi is 303 kilometers.
Yes.
From Kumasi to Paga is 600 kilometers.
Yes.
But don't forget that the line that is coming from the eastern corridor is coming to Tamale.
Yeah.
And so the gap that we have, that government will fill, is from Tamale to Kumasi. Then we'll join the BOT line.
Okay. From Tamale to Kumasi, are you going to have some branch lines as well? Because I think the whole of Northern, there's no rail line, is there?
No.
Are we going to have some branch lines within that route? Getting into some cities or
No, the interesting thing, from Tamale to Kumasi, we'll pass through Siai, we'll pass through Techiman, and then we'll be going up through Pupi and so on. But there will be a branch line to Goso.
Okay.
Because Goso is a regional capital. And also, don't forget that Cashew is around that area and has suddenly is threatening to cocoa. If cocoa doesn't know what is coming, Cashew, there are people who tell you that they think Cashew will become even bigger than cocoa. And so definitely the economics of the day will force us to have some branch lines. But you see, the interesting thing about rail, and I liked your intro when you called it a multimodal mode of transport, you don't need that many branch lines. The feeder lines can be by road. And so instead of somebody taking Cashew from somewhere around Doma and so, or around that area, all the way to Accra or whatever, or Takoradi, you can take it to the railway station by vehicle, cocoa and so on, and it joins the train. So once we have that central spine, as far as the branch lines are concerned, the economics will show it. And let me tell you something. We are of the view that when it comes to the branch lines, by the time that we finish all these lines, we must be in a position to allow the private sector to do some of the branch lines.
Okay. Now, I'm going to move you, and this is the reason why I shelved Takoradi for a while. I'm going to move you from Kumasi using the Takwa route coming to Takoradi. I did some grounds work for my former Director General, Raymond, Mr. Namu.
Just my friend.
Yes, I know you know really a lot. Because we call him Ray sometimes. That's why I messed it up. He's richer than Namu.
Yes.
So we looked at Kumasi coming through Bekwai, Dunkwao, and then coming down to Takwa, and then back to Takoradi. Let's take a look at that. Okay. And how cocoa has suffered in, coming down.
Everybody has suffered.
Because there is no rail line. Yeah. Let's look at that and we'll come down to that.
Almost 60 years since independence, virtually all the rail lines that existed at the time are either rotten, excavated for scrap by unscrupulous individuals, or in most cases encroached upon either legitimately or illegitimately. Iron Port spent this Christmas holidays assessing the state of the rail lines, particularly from the busy commercial city of Kumasi through cocoa-producing town of Asante Bekwai, gold mining hubs of Dunkwa Onofing, Asingfosu, Obuasi and Takwa, all the way to resources-filled capital city of Sekondi Takrade, where Ghana's premier port is located. Our discovery was disheartening to say the least. In Kumasi, the railway line runs through the main Kejitia market behind the railway station. But unfortunately, on Christmas Eve, upon our visit, the entire rail line had been taken over by traders and one can rarely locate the lines. Kiosks and shanty buildings had also taken over other lines from the railway's head office to the new Kejitia market currently being constructed. The rail line then stretches from the Kejitia market through Kase to Buankra, where Shippers Authority already has a facility in place to commence an inland port for the northern belt of Ghana. In Kase, residents say all the lines had been encroached on while others had been excavated for scrap. In Buankra, where the proposed inland port is located, weeds had virtually taken over the entire rail lines. The line moves from Buankra to Asante Bekwai, which is a cocoa-producing town. Here again, weeds have taken over the entire lines which passes under this bridge, making the only road network in the town deteriorated by trucks which transport cocoa beans to the Takrade port and the industrial town of Tema. The situation was not different in Dunkwa Onofing. In Obuasi, a gold mining town, although most of the lines were intact, they had been left to rust, and residents say they cannot wait to see a revamp of the rail lines. Similar sentiments were expressed by residents of the gold-rich town of Takwa. Already, the expansion work currently ongoing at the Takrade Harbour is progressing steadily, with a number of projects completed. A new bulk jetty is also progressively developing. With all these, the growing sentiments of the people to revamp the railways is not far-fetched. Undoubtedly, if factories and industries can spring up in the districts of Ghana, then the necessary means of transporting goods and people to and from the Takrade port, which is certainly rail, should be given the needed and urgent attention. Okay. So that was the work that we did in 2016, actually, just few.
Now I understand why you didn't. you took time to go to
I needed to build it down. Yeah. So just few weeks before you took office, and those were the expectations of the people. Now that a lot had gone on around that route. Cocoa is being produced in Bekwai and all of that, and they need that means of transport to bring it to the Takrade port. That stretch, what's happening?
But thank you very much. When they are, I can't say that when they are bringing the band to your house and you rush, if you are not careful,
you dance the wrong move.
No, if you are not careful, you leave, and by the time the band comes here, because what you just showed is fantastic, and this is the story of the Western Railway line. There's cocoa on it. The last time cocoa was moved on the Western Railway line was 2004. Now, if you look at the fact that the cocoa price and all the cocoa economics, transportation, if it goes down, it's cheaper, it's fantastic. You can't, one of the reasons why the Takwa road is spoiled, all the roads in the Western region are spoiled, is because of the heavy trucks that are moving on the road. And let me tell you something. If you build, we are clamoring for roads in Ghana. The president has declared year of the roads, but I tell you that we'll build the roads. If you don't build the railway to take the heavy trucks off the roads will get spoiled again. Yeah. And now we are coming to start also an integrated aluminum and bauxite industry. So we are focusing on the Western line. The Western line is 340 kilometers in all. What we've done is that Amandi has started working on the Western line. They have been given a contract to work on about a third of the line. That is from Kojo Krom first to Ishim, that was 5 kilometers. Then Ishim to Mansu, that was 18 kilometers, making it 17.5. Let's make it 18 kilometers. Or we calculate. And then from Mansu all the way to Huni Valley, we've also finished negotiating that contract. Now, there's a reason why we are doing it. We did it in that way. Whilst we were doing that, we're giving them bits of the contract. We're also finishing the final design. Because if you don't have your final design, you can't just give away the contract. And now we finished the final design for that entire circuit, almost finished the final design.
Rail.
The western line, almost finished the final design. But at the same time, we've decided also to start also coming from the north of the western line as well. And so there's an 18-kilometer railway line, which will be like the Accra Tema line, but the beginning of the line from Kumasi, it will go from Kumasi to Eduadin. Eduadin is important also because it is from Eduadin that we are going to take off on the central spine around Kumasi towards the north. So that also has been signed, and I also intend to take that to Parliament before we rise.
Okay.
So we are working on about a third of it now, Amandi. Another thing Amandi is going to do is that the line that was done between 2012 and 2017 is a narrow gauge line. And all the new lines are standard gauge. So they're going to convert one of the line from, there are two lines from Kojo Krom to Takoradi, 10 kilometers. One is going to be converted to a standard gauge line. And about 8 kilometers of line will be done inside the Takoradi port itself, because work has not been done inside the Takoradi port for about, I don't know, 20, 30 years. And so their contract that we have with them, the scope is for, first of all, inside the Takoradi port. So it's not just the Takoradi station, but it's the Takoradi port itself.
It gets into the port.
It gets into the port. And there are going to be about 8 lines in the port. And then it will facilitate all the export of all these goods you are talking about. It goes, and it's tied up with all the new development that is going on within the port. Thankfully, in that area, Amandi is also the company which is doing a lot
some of the
jetties
there.
The jetties there. So it's not complicated.
What about those who say, what do you say to those who say that instead of doing Tema to Mpakadan and comparing that with the Takwa to Takoradi one, the Takwa to Takoradi one has a lot of economic viability in the interim, because you have manganese, you have bauxite that could be carted all the way down, and like I said earlier, you have now only manganese that's being carted, just about 5% of manganese. Bauxite is not being carted by train. So, and that could have fetched you if you had concentrated there and finished that one up and begin to use the goods to make a lot of money, and then shift attention to the Tema, the Eastern Corridor one. But now you begin with the Eastern Corridor one, which is Tema to Mpakadan, and that side doesn't have a lot of economic activity going on there. What was the decision to pick on this instead of probably pushing the resources into completing the Takoradi Takwa stretch? Because
we are not doing a zero-sum game. What I tell people is it's not an either-or situation. We are doing
doing all at the same time. Is there funds for that?
But I said to you, that's why I said to you in the beginning that the financial model is important.
Yeah.
That it's not all of it which is loan. Some of it is BOT. Yes. And in fact, the line that even there are also people who strongly believe that we should give away the Western line for BOT.
Okay.
There are people like me, I must confess.
Okay.
That don't think so. I don't think you should give away all your crown jewels. And that is why I was of the view, and the president agreed with me in the beginning, that government should fund the development of the Western line. That is what we've been doing so far. Just now, the same stretch, I mean, Tema Mpakadan is about 97 kilometers. Yes. It used to be 14 kilo. It used to be 80 kilometers. And when we decided to go across the river, then it became 97. We added some more. What the contract with Amandi up to Humi Valley is about 90 kilometers. It's 90 something kilometers. About 90 kilometers. And so we are developing both. Now, what is going to happen is that if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. We have to face reality. Perhaps we will not get money ourselves. Yeah. To do all the what is left is about 200 kilometers. If you take it at even $5 million per kilometer, that's $1 billion. But the point is that now anybody who comes in is coming in as our partner. We own part of the line, so you come and join with us. It puts us in a stronger bargaining position, rather than just go and give your entire line to somebody, your best line, who can hold you to ransom. That is our best line just now economically. Even though people argue, and I'm surprised you don't join that argument, that the most viable, potentially viable line is the one which is passing through the Eastern Corridor, because of all the goods that will come in.
Because of the breadbasket thing. But
no, not because of the breadbasket alone, because of the Sheni iron ore because of the goods that will be coming.
You mean the easing?
Yes,
one,
the Tema Pakada, because
yes.
of the goods that will be coming through Burkina. And let me say something. Each of our lines has its economic potential.
Yeah, but if you take the eastern one, which is Tema to Paga, one would assume that at least from, if it's completed and you have a whole line that's reaching Paga, obviously people would know that this is very viable because it's going to help, and there's a lot of, and you can easily even calculate the amount of money you're making because there are volumes of
we've calculated it.
Yes, there are volumes.
It is exciting.
There are volumes of money, cargo that is going to the transit countries, Burkina, Niger, Mali, and all of that will make a lot of money.
You know,
but have you? Have you calculated what you would make doing only Tema to Mpakadan? And if you compare that with doing only Takoradi to, let's say, Takwa for now.
You see, you don't, when you are doing development, you don't take a short-term view. You don't look at for now. If we were just doing 100 kilometers of railway,
and relax, then you could have taken that decision.
Then if I came to be the minister, president called me to the office and said, Mr. Minister, all we are doing is 100 kilometers. So go and choose the best.
You would have made that option.
Then I will consider a lot of things. Yeah. But if the president tells me that, listen, you are the railway minister, you have a master plan, we are doing the network, so go and work on the network. What we did in the beginning was that we prioritized the eastern line, the western line, the central spine, and then this line. Then I went back to government and said that, listen, I'm getting people are interested in Aflao to Elubu. People are interested in some of the other lines that we haven't even prioritized. So they said, listen, sell anything listen to all offers. And so we have open arms. Aflao to Elubu, you'll be surprised. I don't want to say it.
But you see, and I'll be bringing the comments that folks are asking shortly.
No problem.
I should say that you can join the conversation 055-901 9177 on WhatsApp, also on Facebook. We're streaming live. Iron Port Ghana is on Facebook. Iron Port onto YouTube as well, and I see quite a number of the comments. I'll be reading them shortly. But you were talking about over 20 billion worth of project, which is cutting across the entire country, and you are looking to do all of them. You are seeking to do all of them. How much money do you have? Do we have earmarked money aside the BOT agenda, though? Do we have earmarked money for you? Because a lot of people think that you have so much on your head and there's a lot of money also at stake. Are we getting money for these purposes?
Let me come back to another question that you asked before I come to
the finance side.
The finance side. You talked about the Takwa line. There was an existing line in Takwa, a narrow gauge line. Now, the longest train in the world is run by Transnet in South Africa, 4 kilometers long, and they use it for manganese, and it's a narrow gauge line.
Okay.
And so when we came, we didn't fall asleep. We entered into a contract with Ghana Manganese and said that we'll rehabilitate this line, this narrow gauge line, and use it to pull manganese. Ghana Manganese were over themselves with excitement. But do you know what happened? They said, we will appoint the contractor to rehabilitate the line. And the contractor that they appointed was a company called Hall Trade. And so it was as if we had abandoned that line. Because really, at the end of the day, when the train arrives with the manganese, people don't ask whether it's a standard gauge or narrow gauge, it's a new line, or they want the train to arrive. So we finished that arrangement with Ghana Manganese to make sure that we can repair that line, and then we can be pulling the manganese on that line whilst we do the standard gauge on the side by ourselves. Unfortunately, that agreement had its own problems. So just now, in December last year, government signed, Ghana Railway Company Limited signed with Transnet. Transnet, the people in South Africa who make trains themselves, the people who have the world's longest train, and they have brought their proposal. They have come to join with Ghana Railway Company Limited to pull at least 50% of our manganese by train. And they say they can finish that within 6 months. They would have come to Ghana, but they have lockdown, we have lockdown. We are both locked down now, but so they are doing Zoom meetings and so on. Let's come to the 20 billion question.
Okay.
Or I should answer.
It's important.
First
it's
of all,
huge.
Yeah. First of all, we have a master plan. The master plan, the act that was done.
By the way, which of the master plan? The one that was commissioned in 2014?
13. The 2014 master plan.
Yes.
The 2014 master plan said that we will finish our entire network by 2047. That was the aim, to finish in 2047.
Okay.
We have done a new master plan, and we want to finish this thing by 2035.
Oh, okay, so there's a new master plan apart from
2020 master plan, yes.
I see.
It
2020?
Yes.
It hasn't been commissioned yet because...
yes, because this finishes with me. What we were supposed to do was a few stakeholder engagement. That's now it's 25. unless you give me the permission. I hear you have permission to allow me to.
You don't get a problem.
I don't get a problem. Okay. You say I don't have a problem. Then I do when they arrest me.
They go arrest you one time.
No, you have to follow the law. So the 20. So it's over a period of time, and I keep on making that point. I've made it in Ghana. I've made it in the UK. That's a question of financial modeling. We are not saying that we are going to spend and we are going to pay that 20 billion ourselves. There are portions of the line that will be BOT. For example, if you take the 700 kilometers that we are doing, the 600 kilometers that we are doing to Paga, we are not using our own money. It's going to be BOT. We are leveraging with what we've done so far from the Tema Pakadan. The Accra Kumasi line, we are not using our own money. We are going to put 200 million in. The rest will be by investors. And so if you look at it, Accra Kumasi is 300 kilometers, 303 kilometers. The one to Paga is, let's say, 700 kilometers. Out of that 700 kilometers of line, we are putting 200. We'll put in 200 million here and 500 million here. We'll pay less than 700 million, and we'll use that to leverage to get investors to come in and work with us. Investors will bring capital, they'll bring expertise, they'll bring modern technology, and they will operate it for a while, like is the MPS is doing at the Tema Port. Yes, and so it's how you package your investment. It's not just about going to borrow money and do 20 billion. No.
So you think the strategy would work regardless
the strategy is working.
The financing?
The strategy is working. If the strategy wasn't working, you wouldn't have people lined up. People lined up ready to do. They are negotiating for the Accra Kumasi line. They are just waiting for the final negotiation, signing, taking to Parliament, and they are ready to do that. You wouldn't have companies fighting over the line to Paga. Do you know the number of offers that we have for the Western line and even for the Trans-ECOWAS line? But it has to go through a process. Chief, I keep on telling my people that in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, when people are looking at what you've done, you can't say, oh, we're in a hurry. Yeah. I mean, you have to go through the process. Yeah. We have a process, procurement, this, feasibility, that, reports, stakeholder consultation. So we are going through the process.
I'll bring you to the interest.
And that is why when we did the new master plan, we had the confidence to reduce the time frame.
Okay. I really need I'll be happy to see that new master plan. I'm sure that it would be good if a lot of people have
one of the things that we are trying to do with the new master plan, because we can't launch it. So we'll cooperate with you. We want to launch it on your program and have an interactive program so we present it to Ghana and then we get people's comments.
Okay. I'll bring you to the intracity and let me ask my last on the national bit. What's the model of the lines that you are building? Are they modern models? And then your trains as well. Of course, you've mentioned the narrow gauge trains and narrow and the standard gauge trains. The model of the infrastructure, the real infrastructure itself, because I've heard some engineers question the fact that you are not using columns, the concrete columns, but you're using these embankments. So if you take the one that I see often from the Nestle to Afienya, that stretch, it's a whole concrete structure all running through. Some engineers feel that there's a modern way of having columns built upon it. Does that make any difference to you?
No. I mean, when you look at, for example, the line that is being done in the Western region, there's a 350 meter columns, or what do you call it? Yeah. It's called a viaduct and so on.
Okay.
Railway people are dangerous. Dangerous people. A viaduct is a railway bridge.
Yeah.
So the viaduct. So one day when I came, I called one of the engineers.
They want to confuse you.
Chief, one of the engineers became my friend. So I called them. I said, "Charlie, come. This viaduct.
What be
Say the bridge." I said, these people now, they are kilometers. They got chainage instead of kilometers. So no, I mean, listen. There's many arguments
Yeah.
as their engineers. I mean, before I became a railway minister, I thought lawyers were difficult people. With respect to all engineers out there, and I say it not as an insult, engineers, they're difficult past lawyers. There are as many opinions as their engineers. When you start with 4 engineers, yes, somebody will tell you should have done this, another person will tell you should have done columns. We have a competent team.
Yeah.
Ghana Railway Development Authority, headed by Dombo, Ghana Railway Company Limited. We have consultants who sit down. I mean, this thing they are talking about, it's been done by an Indian company which has done a lot of work in India, and the consultants are an Italian company who have supervised the railway development even in Nigeria and so on. So please, I mean, people know what they are doing.
Okay, and that brings me to the level of personnel that we have. As you do all of these things and very fantastic stuff that's going on, as you do all of that, what's the involvement of our local engineers in all these projects, and to what extent are you training folks locally, indigenous people, to ensure the maintenance, sustainability of the maintenance of all these projects, so that tomorrow if the experts leave, we don't come see a deteriorated rail stations that people, like the ones we have been seeing around,
Chief, if you hadn't asked me this question, I wouldn't have gotten up from my chair. Because one of the first things that hit me when I became railway minister was a lack of human resource. Because the railway had deteriorated. Listen, Ghana Railway Company Limited used to be a place of employment of choice. They had a railway training school, you'd go there. I mean, people went there as apprentices, they ended up as engineers. They would take you through a process, train you and so on. But unfortunately, all of that had gone to the wind, basically. I mean, could you believe that when you came to the Ghana, the company itself, the managing director had been an engineer for about 30 years. The deputy managing director, Mr. Ante, had been an engineer at that time about 20 years. Then you came down to 7 years. Then you came down to 1 year and 2 years. So you didn't really have people in the system. In the Ghana Railway Development Authority, which was supposed to be a regulator, you had 2 engineers. You had the managing director then who was an engineer, and you had the director of regulation who was an engineer. That's all you had. Just now we have more than 10 engineers there. We have professionals, we have quantity surveyors and so on. In my ministry, we have engineers who are now civil engineers and so on, who have done training, they've gone to China, so have gone to India and so on. They've trained on the job, they are becoming railway engineers.
You're training more people.
I mean, I can say that since we came, at least 50 engineers have been trained. Since we came, professional staff, Ghana Railway Company Limited, they've employed about 170 people permanent, and they've employed about 450 people on a temporary basis. They are going to sift through, so are here, take the best ones. And so the level of engagement of employment is fantastic. But what we decided to do was that we decided that you have to structure it better. So we approached some of the universities, and then we finally settled on University of Mines and Technology in Takwa. Because don't forget that a lot of the mines underground, they have railway.
Yeah.
It's rail that moves. And so we've signed a deal with them. We finished the railway training school. It's going to be
the railway, is that what we're seeing on this?
Yeah, that's what you're
So that's the railway training school.
Yes, it's going to be a campus of the University of Mines and Technology.
I see.
Yes.
And you did this, you did the rehabilitation when you came to office?
Yes. I mean, you can show the before pictures. You can show this. That's me on top there.
I see.
But you can show
the images before. I think that's what's on the screen.
This is 2017. This is how it was like.
Okay. And you moved it to the new phase that we just saw?
Yes, by God's grace.
Interesting. So you are doing all of these.
So what is going to happen is that we are now they are ready to roll. As soon as the president allows us to start taking people this year, they are ready to take people into 6 different disciplines, engineering disciplines. But what is happening is that from next year, then this year is civil engineering and so on, but for next year we will have accredited a program in railway engineering itself. They are going to do certificate courses, they are going to do diploma courses and so on. And hopefully within 5, 6, 7 years, you can have a University of Railway and Infrastructure Development standing by itself.
And you hope that, once students graduate from this, by that time, the rail lines would have been it would have been in active situation that people can work in there. It wouldn't be a situation where people will graduate and they will say that we don't know what to do. We can't be useful.
Chief, if we don't do this, it's not that I hope, I know it will happen. I mean, listen, we had a railway section, we had about 100 kilometers of railway, but we had a shortage of staff. Even the amount of railway that we are building now, we need people. Even today, we need people. And you said a very interesting thing. I mean, the people who are building are contractors. A lot of them are contractors, and it's portions of the line. When they finish, they go away. And so, if we don't listen, as soon as COVID came, people went back to their countries. Yeah. So if you don't have people who can
locally to take over,
you're in trouble. Now you have a wonderful maritime university.
Yeah.
What is the value of, sorry for throwing my hand around, I think there's no value. I mean, what is the, if you look at the value of the railways, potential railway sector, 20 billion, as against the value of the, it's almost a par, if not a little higher than. And you have a maritime university training people. It just stands to reason that we should have also a railway school training people, because it's a specialized area.
I see. It's amazing that you are, one would say integrated. You are integrating, you are putting all these infrastructure together, and still you're having them going. I have quite a number of comments. Some engineers are commending you.
Engineers?
Yes.
Well, tell them that they should make
they said they thought that you were pure law man, but you have shocked them. But let me say.
No, the person would say that, then I beg him, I want an honorary degree engineer, so I can make noise more.
They want you to go and learn the term, so that
let me tell you something. I thank God.
Yeah.
God moves in mysterious ways, and I thank God for this opportunity to serve the people of Ghana, because I'm a lawyer. But now, I've listened quietly. It's been a humbling experience. I mean, if I was in my comfort area, being law, one way I'll think, oh, the law now, I know already. There I go. No. This one is railway. So this one, I keep on telling my people around me, I keep quiet and listen to these people. Yeah. And over the years, it's been humbling. Still, I talk to them. I have excellent support staff who I can call at any time during the day, and they give me answers.
Let me bring you to intra-city.
Thank you.
Within the cities, what work have been done? I saw one that, I think it's around the Kantamanto area there. Yeah. We saw a lot of women who were selling on the rail lines and all of that. I don't know if my folks my techies would have the images showing women selling on the lines, and it was so difficult to get them away and then be able to rehabilitate and all of that. Do you have it? Okay, good. So what have you done on that stretch?
Well, first of all, that stretch, I mean, what used to happen was they used to sell on the rail itself.
So when the train is coming, then they start packing their stuff and move away from the line.
One day I was on the train and they were waving me.
Oh.
Now Jogati, then they wave me.
No, but it's scary. It's not really,
Chief.
as
this
funny
is
as
2017. I mean, that's why you asked me that. How did it feel being made the railway? It was a shock nightmare. I mean, when I stood on this train and saw this thing, and the people were waving me as if we are cousins. So now this is the same place you see.
Okay.
We clear them.
So that's okay. So that's the one that was.
So we clear them. Chief. Listen. If you ask me,
so there are no encroachers now.
They are not there. They are not there any longer. Now, if you ask me how we did it, I'll say it's by the grace of God. I mean, I'll come to my office and there are about 20 women waiting for me, very angry with me. And we negotiated with them. We spoke to them. They joined us, and they themselves started policing it. And there are places where they can pass across. We've done a kind of pathway where they can pass across to the Kantamanto market, and they themselves were policing it because we closed some of the gates. It's been a wonderful experience. But the point about the suburban lines is that, like I said, all our lines we are using for multi-purposes. So the line coming from Kumasi to Accra, let me give that example. Once it gets to Insawam, once there will be a train going from Accra straight to Kumasi, there will be another train that is going from Accra to Insawam. There will be another train that is going from Accra to Koforidua. And so within the intercity lines are going to be the suburban lines. For example, the line that is going to Burkina Faso, you know that very soon from Tema all the way at least to Pong, Afei, and so on will become like one city.
Yeah.
So all that will be like an inner city urban line. But in addition to that, inside the city itself, we must have light
the
trail.
lines connecting.
We must have light trail.
Okay.
If you look at the last year's budget, the government considered a Kaswa line, Accra to Kaswa, as part of the Trans-ECOWAS line. Unfortunately, when the studies came out, it was difficult to find a route. Normal route Accra to Kaswa. Some people suggested that we go through Achimota and then pass through the N1. What it would have meant was that one street of the N1 would have had to be taken over by rail. And I told them, please, the distance seemed one step enough for me. We want more routes. Then I'm going to take road for real. Then they said you can brake by the side. I said, please. The confusion that will come there. So we are looking at how we get to Kaswa.
Okay.
And then that leads us to light rail, because there are places that you cannot go by normal rail, because normal rail is more intrusive, you need more space and so, but you can go by light rail. You can, for example, lift it up. And that is how the concept of the Sky Train came in. I was reading a report yesterday about people's comments about the Sky Train, saying it should not be a priority. Why is government going to invest $2.5 billion in a Sky Train and so on? It's a BOT project. Government is not putting its money in it. Investors from South Africa, led by a group called African Investor, teamed up with the African Exim Bank and so on, and said, we have looked at this thing. We think that there's enough traffic in Accra to make sense. And what is a Sky Train? A Sky Train is just an elevated train. They build it on what your engineers famously say, the pylons.
Yeah.
And the Sky Train is a lighter train. It's lighter than the monorail is a lighter train than the normal train, much lighter. And so that's how come it can go in the air and so on. Now we signed the agreement in November, and the thinking was that we signed the concession agreement in November, and they were supposed to complete the feasibility and come out with the exact figures so that they can start work by this year August. Chief, on my phone is my latest correspondence from them. Of course, it goes without saying that COVID has changed the situation a bit, and they are also revised or reviewed their this thing. So the light and in Kumasi as well. Let me just say Kumasi as well. In Kumasi as well, we finished the feasibility study for the light rail. There's a Czech group which is very interested in doing BOT. I've given approval to my people to start talking to the Czech group. To see what they bring to us.
As you talk about the light rail thing, there's also another criticism that the speed of the lines or the trains that we're looking at, some feel that we are a little below. We could have gone beyond the 200 kilometers per hour. Some feel that, like China and those places, they go the high speed ones. 400, 400, then you are there.
What?
Then you are there. So,
I think you should be railway minister.
Are we doing 160? We are doing 200. What kilometers are we doing per hour?
Under the 2013 master plan, we're doing 120 kilometers per hour.
120. That's the master plan within the 2014 one.
Yes.
The 2014 master plan.
Yes. We have increased it to 160. And let me tell you something. We've been told by engineers, and I'm sure engineers, when you get to 200 kilometers and above, that's high speed, and that's electric.
Yeah.
And we don't have, and it costs much more. I mean,
the electric one.
The electric high-speed train costs much more. $10 million per kilometer above. We are doing a fast train, 160 kilometers per hour. Now, a number of things we are also doing is that all the new lines we are doing, the right of way that we are doing it to enable us in the near future convert it to a high-speed train. So therefore, what it means is that all the bridges and so that we are doing will take into account the possibility of electric lines at the top. We make sure that the alignment is a straighter alignment, because a 200 kilometer per hour train cannot, the gradient and the curve must be. So we are preparing for that once we are doing a fast train.
I think we've set the tone now with all the conversation, and people are eager to call. So the numbers that you can call, 055-901-9177. The number you can WhatsApp, and I see the WhatsApp already. In the 055-901-9177 is the number you can WhatsApp. The number you can call is 020-552-8353. is the number you can call. Also, you can send us a message, get interactive on Facebook, and we'll definitely endeavor to share your comments with the rest of the world. Honorable, I'm going to ask you about cooperation from traditional authorities and cooperation from local assemblies and all of that in getting people off the way and trying to pave way, demolishing buildings and all of that. To what extent are you getting the cooperation? I think we have a colleague of yours, ranking member of the Roads and Transport, I think, in Parliament, is on the line. Do we have... Hello? Hello? Okay, so I think our techies will work the lines to get him back on. But what level of cooperation do you get from the local authorities in doing this?
I mean, excellent. Look, you can take me on a program on the local authority. Let me give you just the example of the Temai-Pakada line. I don't know whether you are aware that there are still problems with the compensation to do with the Akosombo Dam and the Pond Dam. That all the issues of compensation have not been solved yet.
Okay.
Under the 1992 Constitution, Article 20, says quite clearly that when you take over somebody's land, you must pay fair and adequate compensation. And when the person does not agree to the amount that you have to pay, the person has a right to go to court. But the traditional authorities have been wonderful. The Akwamu in Odino and the Maya chief, Nene secretary, both of them at a certain point decided that they won't allow me to continue. Not me, I mean, they won't allow the railway sector to continue unless we have come and settled the issues of compensation because of the experience they have with the Akosombo Dam and the Pond Dam. I went there to see them. In fact, when I left the office or the palace of the paramount chief of Maya, one of his sub-chiefs came to me and said, God has blessed you. I said, why? He said, what we decided to do to you, but when you spoke, as soon as you spoke, we came to the conclusion that we must give you the opportunity. The chiefs have been wonderful from north to south. The Saregu chief, I mean, the way he encouraged us. He said to me that since electricity came to the north, as far as he's concerned, when the railway comes to the north, that will be the next biggest thing that has come to the north. I see. The Nariri himself, the Minister for Local Government, the DCEs, and we've had excellent cooperation. Of course, it's not, I mean, you can't be, everything cannot be perfect. For example, there's a small place where there's some rubber plantation where we can't agree on the compensation and so on. So there are a few problems, but generally, the people of Ghana have been very good to us. Okay. I mean, on the line that you know, that there are areas that some of the boys will say why we should build a road and so on. We are negotiating our way kilometer by kilometer. Good. In a position of humility.
Some comments in for you, so let me read them quickly while we get the lines also back on. God bless the hardworking Member of Parliament for Esikado Ketan constituency and the Minister of Railways Development. Honorable Jogate is a godsend to the railway sector and Esikado Ketan constituency. We will surely, okay, so that's voting for you to continue your good works. That's coming from your folks, I guess. This one says, you speak as a statesman. Ghana will forever remember you for massive development in our modern railway sector. No doubt you are a presidential material. God bless Nana. Hey, what is this? Pressure on Chief. Yes.
Don't read every.
I even missed that point. I just noticed that those
you should be editing, please. Don't want any trouble. I'm just a simple railway man.
Man, do your own small job at the corner. So we pray the railway system will work again so that the benefit of it can transform the fortunes of Ghana. We believe the homeboy of Esikado Ketan constituency will do the job. God bless Nanado. God bless Honorable Jogate. Okay. So, Honorable Jogate, indeed, Esikado Ketan constituency is really proud of you. Okay, so that's the constituency people. So please, I mean, ask the minister, how about the Sky Train? Is it coming on or not? So I think he just touched on that as well, that they are working all of that together. I'm Philemon from Nsawem. I'm pleading with this government to do something at Nsawem to Accra. The case is the people are feeling their houses are demolished for nothing. I like the minister. Ask him why they want to touch all the rail lines knowing there are no enough funds. So maybe you take...
Let me take the Sawum one.
The
Sawum line, nobody, I'm not aware of any house being demolished. I stand to be corrected, but the Sawum line, I'm not aware of anybody's house being demolished. And in Sawum we started the Sawum line this year. We started it in January. It was oversubscribed. I think January or February. I think February. But because of COVID, they closed down the passenger services. So depending on the situation, in Sawum will start again. And we are not, the railway does not break down people's houses. If we are going to take over your house, anybody, not just in Sawum, everywhere, and it's on railway land, that one we have to demolish. But if it's not on railway land, we'll pay compensation under the constitution. But in Sawum, I don't think anybody's house was demolished.
Okay. This one says whichever company is handling our railway line should be well supervised in order to do very good work, because the country is spending a lot in that direction. We should do away with politics and know that whatever we are doing is for Mother Ghana and should be done once and for all.
Thank you.
This one says, I'm so much in love with the minister. He has really proven that he is on top of his job. Keep it up, Mr. Minister, and your team. From Chris Donko in Takrady. Honorable Joe Gatti is exhibiting his competence in infrastructure and investment. That is coming from Sir Collins, Takrady University, he says. And then this one says, good evening. Please ask the Honorable Minister why the Ghana Railway Company Limited has been paid for
has not,
I'm sure it's missing, but I'm sure that's probably what he's referring to, for 3 months now. Do you know about that?
Yes. I mean, they
haven't been paid for 3 months?
You know, we have the Ghana Railway Company Limited earns its money from manganese. Now, what happened was that the manganese company did not operate for some time. Anyway, I have good news for the person who asked that question.
Okay.
Government is giving a cash injection which will cover all the company's expenses up to next year March, including and the money will come into hit the account next week.
That's good.
But let me make a point clearly. It is not free money in the sense that it doesn't mean that they can just go to bed and not do anything. I trust that they will respect government's good intention in the sector, and then therefore they will also do their bits.
Okay.
And also improve their delivery. And when I say improve their delivery, they are still going to, now they started operating the manganese line.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't say that because government is paying this money, then the manganese line, they won't do their best. They should do their best. And I have confidence in them.
Okay.
They can do it.
We've got a caller on the line. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Honorable Kwame Abuja.
Sorry, say again, please.
Kwame Abuja.
Honorable Kwame Abuja.
Yes.
Hey, good evening, brother.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, long time.
Yes. And good evening to my senior colleague, the minister.
Kwame Abuja, Honorable the Great. How are you? Pardon me?
Good. Yeah.
What do you say?
Very well. Yes.
Okay, he's fine. That's what he said.
Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. And thank the minister for taking time to receive or update the country on what's happening in the railway. I agree with him. Railway is a very huge capital-intensive project, and but the only thing we need to notice is that the government will have to put forward a lot of their own capital to be able to make it work. Because if you check, most countries, including even America and Britain today, railway is heavily subsidized because if you leave it, maybe the private people couldn't do it in a way that can benefit. I also I'm happy that he cited the NPS as a viable way of financing. Today, I'm sure everybody understands that three at it's a very good investment. Even if putting money money, yet we have a port, and after some years it will be out for the railway. It will be very useful. The only thing I want to get clear is this: we acknowledge that there was a railway master plan in 2013, which has been reviewed, and the review came to to talk about sending railway into every region, which is not a bad plan. But as he himself has said that it's about money. We are unable to raise the money. Currently, the only railway project that is fully funded that is ongoing is the Tema to Mpakadan, Tema to Akosombo now, Tema to Mpakadan.
Yeah.
And I agree with him that somewhere in 2018, the government then started some feasibility, which I think the result came out in 2009. It started 2008, came out in 2009. But the truth is that what we are having at Kama and Mpakadan, the AFCONs never entered into any agreement with government in 2008. AFCON came in later. So the Tema Mpakadan project is not exactly something that somebody can say that the current government wholly did. I would have been happier if Minister was a bit more general by laying the foundation in terms of the history of how every government incrementally added to what we are seeing now and what is adding. It should have been more inclusive. But when it speaks as if when the colonial masters the railway and left, absolutely nothing was done. I think that is where I depart slightly away from him. I 100% agree with him in terms of all the things he said in terms of what we needed to be doing to be able to bring railway as a tool to internationalization. I don't know if any country can develop without a railway. But I disagree with him in terms of strategy. I agree with you when you ask him. You said this thing is expensive, $6 million per kilometer. Yes, we are pretending that we can do all things in railway within the same period of time. So currently, it's difficult to tell exactly what government is doing physically for you to see, apart from the one railway that was refurbished. And I commend him how he was able to get encroachers off the line for that to be open. But we had other projects completed. Amandi was in Western region, completed the Kojo Chrome station and others before the NPP government came to office. But there's no talk about that. It's just talking about Amandi. I think Amandi just started working. He was continuing with what others have started. And I think Article 35 or something of our constitutional mandate that every government should continue what the previous government started. So railway is something that one government cannot start and it's not going to be possible.
Okay.
But it will be advisable that every government acknowledges what has been left of them and what they are building on, so that everybody is on board.
Yeah.
And I feel, and he knows my point about the diversion to the Mpakadan. I've argued, I'm not an engineer, but I've argued that they talk about not going to Akosombo because the bridge will collapse. I don't buy it. I can understand the economic reason or the precaution that, okay, let's not even go near whether there's a possibility of the bridge getting damaged. But that will not be that if we did that, NDC or the previous government was in the process of endangering the dam. And Mr. Dombo actually made that comment somewhere that the previous feasibility and previous engineers didn't do a good job. And I think that was not a very good lesson. But of course, the minister didn't say that. But if you see what we are doing today,
Honorable Abuja, did you say that you thought he mentioned that the contractors didn't do a good job, or the fact that
Mr. Dombo
if you are referring to Mr. Dombo, who is not in the studio at the moment, and because he didn't say that on this platform, we cannot authenticate that one. So, yeah.
What I'm saying is that the reason given by the ministry for not going to Akosombo instead of Mpakadan,
and that was because of the bridge you mentioned. Yes, I agree.
But to say that the studies that were done to take the railway to Akosombo was not done properly, that we're going to endanger the dam. I gave them example that we tunnel the whole of London.
Okay.
There are railway tunnels under River Thames, and they are not the railway. It's not getting built. So we should be careful the way we talk about things, not to just subsidize other people.
Other regimes.
And I'm saying that it should be good for the minister and the current government to give credit to what they have been left. Kojo Chrome Station have been there. There were rail coaches there. They are coming to extend that line further. That is a good thing. The Tematuapo Railway. In fact, coincidentally, I actually moved the motion for the approval of the $390-something million for that project in Parliament. But today, what it appears is as if it is an NPP agenda or an NPP vision. That cannot be a way of carrying the country along.
Let me have him respond. Probably he would acknowledge all the work that you have assisted and done as well in that regime. So I'm going to have you respond to that pretty shortly, Honorable Minister. So his issue is that, you know, some acknowledgement ought to be done, even though I think I remember that you mentioned the Kojo Chrome one.
I'm surprised.
Coming from the former president.
It's as if Honorable Abuja is my friend. And
so do a lot of acknowledgement of the job you have done.
I encourage him to do law, because you see, he started by saying that he started very gently, and then as he was charging, then he was becoming more violent in his speech, if I can say it that way. You see, he should.
He probably just.
So when I say violent in speech, he knows that I don't mean. You see, Honorable Abuja should have listened to what I was saying, because I said it here that Amandi did from Segedi to Takoradi. I even gave the year they did. It started in 2012. It passed through Kojo Chrome. It ended in 2017. That line from Sekendi to Takoradi was done by Amandi. It's 15 kilometers. I acknowledge it's narrow gauge. It's narrow gauge. And I said that Amandi today are doing 90 kilometers. They are transforming the Kojo Chrome to Takoradi section of the line. They're 10.6 kilometers. They are converting from narrow gauge to standard gauge, because it was done well at that time. We don't have to redo a standard gauge. We can convert one of the two lines. We are doing about 8 kilometers within the port. That was not done. And then we are doing a line from Kojo Chrome all the way to Huni Valley. And the total is 90 kilometers. So when I talk about your 15 kilometers, which I've acknowledged, I can also talk about the 90 kilometers.
Yeah. And for the sake of time, he also mentioned the fact that you mastered the master plan of 2014, and also 2013.
But before even the master plan, there are videos of Professor Amir Kofi drawing up the plan. So if we go back there, who did what? Then, because you remember,
for us, we just want to see the investment.
We just want to see the investment. And then we talk about this tema, Akosumo, that he talks about a lot. I'm not Abuja. I don't think he's an engineer. I think he's a quantities man or something. I have a letter from VRA. Maybe if it was him who was a minister, he would argue with VRA. I have a letter. When we went to the meeting, I said to them that people, unless you tell, if you want me to go ahead, write to me confirming that we can go ahead. If we do it and the dam breaks, it's on your head.
So it was the engineering of the dam that
was one of the reasons. Okay. But even if there were no other economic reasons, if you threaten the dam, I'll stop.
Yeah.
And the point is that we can't say that. I don't know what Dongo said, but we can't even say that the previous government we did wrong engineering, because that entire program started under Amir Kofi. Okay. And I've told you that, and I said it here. It was a port-to-port project. I also said the part that the NDC continued with Amir Kofi, as the constitution says that they have to continue, they continued it. And I also said that we also continued, but we changed it. So my friend Abuja, don't worry. I mentioned yours, but you don't want me to celebrate 15 kilometers.
This one says, good evening to you in there with our extraordinary railway minister. Please, I heard the minister listing all the regional capitals that are going to be interconnected with the railway, but I didn't hear WA, and I don't know whether it's included or excluded. And I need some clarification on that.
It is included. That's the western extension.
That is the line.
Yeah. The line will go from the line that is going the central spine. There's a line that takes off from Tichiman, which will go up to Hamali, and it will pass through Wa. Okay. So every single regional capital, including not only Wa, including the regional capital of Savannah as well, will all be linked.
Okay, my name is Kwesi Jesse from Abuaso Ashanti. Okay. I am very shocked and also impressed by the railway ministry performance, but unfortunately, Ghanaians are not aware of what is going on. The ministry is not putting out information on their performance. Please, Minister, do something about that. This one says, Please ask the minister why the AFCONS company that is doing Tema to Mpakadan or Akosombo railway line have vehemently decided not to construct major drainages systems at a community they called Mawu Bejibe, where the railway lines pass through the community. The community is about 15 kilometers away from Afienya towards Akosombo, where the company has constructed an under bridge. The railway lines have caused a lot of havoc in terms of flooding because of absence of drainage system. We've written to him, that's the minister, but failed to respond with all the pictures of the flooding. We have written also to the president. Now we have no choice.
No,
do you know about that?
You have a choice. Every single letter that we receive, we follow up. Okay. I don't know about this particular. There are so many, but I don't know. But we are working kilometer by kilometer. Now, what we notice is that people want us to do an underpass every 2 or 3 kilometers. It's not possible. It will affect the integrity of the work. So we will hold everybody's hand and work with everybody to make sure that we assist them to solve their problems. We are not going to create a railway line to create more problems. So the person should not be too worried.
Okay, let me pick Albert on the line and then I'll get back to some few other. Hello, Albert.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Please, can I come down to you so that I
feel free and go ahead quickly, sir.
Okay. I'm within responsibility. Now, later, I might be 4 years from Takoradi to Kotoko. The same line on way to your sense, maybe a farmer organization, you know. Insuta. One year lines, 1 year wheel, the passenger train air try for more than 5 times. In 5 times. Lines in line. This is a surplus 1 year, the same Mama you see now.
Okay. Okay.
When we work as when we are complaining.
Okay, so point well made. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to have the producers handle that one real quick so that others can also come on. This one says, I am interested in the blue line from Aflao to Elubu. Please, does the line touch the proposed landmark for Keta Port? So the Keta Port.
Well, let me first let me answer the gentleman.
The one as well.
The tree speaking man and then come back. First of all, from Amandi is working from Kojokro to Huni Valley. They haven't started laying the tracks yet. Just now they are doing the formation. If you can show the bridge, and the thing about that is that that's why perhaps Honorable Abuja says that the only work that is happening is there. No, that line is in the bush, so you don't see it as much as you see the other line. But Amandi is working on it. As far as the slippers is talking about, that's the rehabilitation of the narrow gauge. The Ghana Railway workers cannot complain because the rehabilitation was done by Ghana Railway. They went to buy the slippers from China. The money was given to government, has given Ghana Railway over 100 million Ghana cedis for rehabilitation. And the rehabilitation, government does not do the rehabilitation. They go through the process, they go through. So if there's a problem with the line, the railway workers must ask their own management and they must resolve it with themselves. That is the narrow gauge. Amandi is doing a standard gauge. No standard gauge has happened on the Western Line. Now Amandi is doing a standard gauge from Kojokrom to Insuta and also from Kojokrom back to the harbour. What was done by Amandi between 2012 and 2017 is narrow gauge, it's not standard gauge.
Okay.
And then you asked me a question, didn't you?
Yes, the one from Keta, the connection to Keta.
Yes, 125.
From Aflao to
there's the Keta hopefully will be served by 2 lines.
Okay.
There will be a connection between Keta and also the line that is going to Burkina Faso. And it's 125 kilometers. So it will join around Japon from Keta. It will come to around Japon, 125 kilometers, part of the new master plan.
Okay.
And of course, Keta will also be joined by the proposed Trans-ECOWAS line, which is from Aflao to Elubu.
Okay. This one says, hello, Iron Port. I just want to know if the Honorable Minister engaged some of the best brains in the transport and logistics industry here in Ghana during the planning stage of these projects. So what's the level of collaboration? This is coming from one Dr. George Van Dyke.
trust me, these investments, it says, so did you involve some of the local
Yes.
Okay.
We did involve the best. And in fact, the process of, we're about to go, the process of validation will involve them again.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's another one, the level of collaboration with other agencies. If you take the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, for instance, to what extent are the engineers from the railways working hand in hand with the ports?
I mean, we are, it's like twins. I mean, for example, on the Ghana Burkina, they serve on our board.
The committees.
The committees and so on. We serve on the Shippers Authority board. As you pointed out to me.
No, I think the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority doesn't serve on the railway board. It has to but railway boards serve on Ghana
Ports.
Yes,
you pointed it out to me. It has to be changed. So I'll look at it immediately.
Okay.
Because the is that we serve on each other. We have to serve on each other's boards because we work with each other.
Okay. I think I've got a caller on the line. Joshua is calling from Matimpuku. Hello, Joshua.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Minister. I want to ask for us who has our buildings and our facilities demolished on that Timpoku line. It's been over 2 years now, and there's not received any compensation or news about when we are getting our compensation. And I also want to know about it.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that compensation question. The good thing about it is that, first of all the contracts that we are doing now, we put in an amount for compensation. We estimate an amount for compensation. So compensation is not is part of the contract sum. The second thing is that, unfortunately, the issue of compensation is not decided by my ministry. Under the Constitution, under our architecture, it's decided by Lands Commission, Lands Valuation Board. They decide it. So it's difficult for me to take control over that or to say anything about that. But what I know is that the money is available, the process is ongoing. And I pray, please, you know these things, when there's an African country, I don't want to mention the name, when they finished building their railway line, they charged about 18 people. 18 people were charged with crimes relating to bloating of compensation and so on. So sometimes I plead with you, let's do it and do it properly.
Okay.
So that tomorrow you, as well as the railway authorities, nobody will be found wanting.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with the amount, you can go to court.
Okay. During your vetting, I recall that there was a question that was posed to you about compensating traditional authorities, and you mentioned there that you think that we should even go beyond compensating them but make them partakers of the project. What did you mean by that? And has that confronted you throughout?
The typical example of traditional authorities becoming partakers of the project is the Akwamu people. They have embraced the project and they are going to develop associated infrastructure around the project. When the rail line comes to your traditional area, the first thing it immediately does is that it raises the value of the land. But you must develop projects by it where you are shareholders as traditional people. Don't give away your land. Become part owners of the business. And what we have is that we have a Ghanaian participation policy that we are developing. We are not just developing the policy, we are also developing implementation of the policy, which will give the opportunity not only to traditional authorities, but to Ghanaians to get involved in this real, if I can borrow the word revolution, even though I'm not a revolutionary, real revolution that is happening.
Okay. This one says, I think an advice for you from one Harrison Odamin, and someone says, ticket fraud caused the collapse of Ghana Railways. My suggestion is that the government should not use the lines for passenger transport, but rather procure more coaches and vans and rent them to individual and company for freight forwarding. Now, I picked this one and I'll pick your thought on this one in particular. Also want to ask about the hauliers or those involved in road transport. A lot of times we've heard that they are not, there've been efforts to sabotage the rail sector by those who are road transport. I don't know how that is true. I would seek
it's not true. It's not true.
Okay, and that if and that if it is not true, well, along the line, since you took office, have you witnessed anything of that nature, that confrontation from them or efforts to sabotage?
No, I mean,
but have you also engaged them?
Yes. A typical example is this Ghana Burkina rail line. I mean, the transporters in Burkina, those who own the trucks and so on, they are very much involved in it on the Burkina side as well as the Ghana side.
What's the benefit in them, though? For them?
Listen, when you just look at a train station, when a train arrives, let's start with passenger train. When a train arrives at a station, it puts down about 600 people. And so the taxi drivers have ready passengers. Let's look at the cargo. The train, unfortunately or fortunately, does not go to every part of the land. It's on its tracks. And so you have to carry the goods from wherever onto the train line. Okay. And so carrying the goods from wherever onto the train is done by trucks. If it brings more business, the trucks will become busier, much busier.
Okay, my name is Gideon. I am excited about the wonderful plans Mr. Gate is laying out. I am concerned, though, about the accident which happened in Second D. This is happening when we have a single rail line. How are we sure that when the lines become complex, we won't have more accidents?
The accident that recently happened in Second D was a truck. These trucks that carry fuel, it got spot on the line. The train was coming, the truck was spot on the line. The guard there went to the man, told him that the train is coming, move your truck from the line. It happened behind the Chinese area. Well, he couldn't move it and an accident happened. It's not an accident, it's an accident. It's not one train or several trains, but I agree with him. We are coming out with much more modern signaling and technology, but this was a pure accident. I mean, whatever be the case, this can happen. But the good thing about what we are doing is that the new lines, we are doing what they call grade separation. Because the trains will be moving faster, the trains don't pass the road any longer. And that's why you see so many bridges. In the Old Testament, what will happen is that when the train reaches a road, it passes the road. If you look at Circle, when the train reaches a road, it passes the road. So you have to stop either with a red flag or whatever and signal. Just look at the Temapakada line. It doesn't cross the road anywhere.
Yeah.
It goes, either the train goes on top and the car goes beneath, or the train goes beneath and the car goes above. What it does is that these accidents that we are talking about will no longer happen.
Okay, so as we wrap up, this one says the old master plan shows that there is a route from Accra Central through Dansoman to Kaswa. It's even possible to do so now via ducts. I think doing that will be a great achievement, and it's coming from one former media consultant to the ministry during Mr. Honorable Amiya Okunfi's tenure.
Let me thank him. It's a very good note to end on. Let me thank him. We have consultants who are working on the easiest and best way to get to Kaswa. You don't need to tell me about Kaswa. I mean, my constituency is in that direction, and I face a lot of problems on that road.
Okay.
And the Trans-ECOWAS line will happen, and so we have to find a way out.
Okay, so that I think that's all that we can pick. Quite a number of messages, but we'll pick the honorable's responses, and my own sister and personal person, Nakwale, is also here. I'm sure we'll get some of the responses and we'll send them to you. Your concerns are already scrolling on the screen, so people are reading them, and we're sharing them with the minister and the rest of the world as well. When we get the responses, we'll also share them with you. In the meantime, we pick some few information, and then we'll be right back and wrap up.
Dubai-based terminal operator DP World has completed the early stages of integration with TradeLens, a blockchain-based digital container logistics platform jointly developed by AP Moller Maersk and IBM. The collaboration between DP World and the TradeLens platform is expected to help accelerate the digitization of global supply chains. DP World aims to connect all its 82 marine and inland container terminals, as well as feeder companies and logistics divisions with TradeLens. The European Commission has unveiled a €750 billion recovery plan aimed at ensuring economic recovery from the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis. The Next Generation EU Fund consists of allocations for €500 billion and loans of €250 billion, combined with targeted reinforcements to the long-term EU budget for 2021 to 2027. The fund will bring the total financial firepower of the EU budget to €1.85 trillion. The recovery plan proposes to reinforce programs such as the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund, the Connecting Europe Facility Fund, and the European Defence Fund. The International Chamber of Shipping is warning of reports of seafarers being denied medical evacuation or access to ports despite serious medical conditions, describing the practice unacceptable. ICS has issued new guidance for ship owners and operators to deal with unwell seafarers. The Chamber said on Thursday, May 28, that it was planning to remind governments of their obligations to provide medical care for seafarers during a virtual meeting of healthcare professionals organized by the World Health Organization, International Maritime Organization, and International Labour Organization, where the latest guidance for seafarers was set to be discussed.
Okay, so thank you very much. In the studio, I have had Honorable Joe Garte is a member.
Sorry, before you go, I have a security coordinator, Mr. Adaba, who is the man in charge of all these problems with the virus. He says that, please, on the Mau Bezebe, we have responded by going on 2 occasions with AFCONs, led by one Joti. It has been, we are working on it. Maybe the person is not living there, please.
This is in which?
In respect of the gentleman who said that their area is flooded and so on.
Oh, yeah, the flood one.
We have a gentleman, a security coordinator, who is responsible for those things. So the minute the letter comes, we respond
to it.
We refer to it. We respond to it. We even go there personally. And he said, I've gone there 2 times, because as soon as you sent the thing, I think he was watching. He said he's gone there on 2 occasions with AFCONs and one Joti, and we are working on it. So rest assured, gentlemen, they are working on it.
Okay, so that's a good one for you, and probably on a good note to end. Honorable Joe Garte is the Minister for Railways Development, a Member of Parliament at Skadu-Kitan constituency. We'll be talking about the role of rail in multimodal connectivity and the economic growth in Ghana. I'm sure that we'll have another time to deal with some of the comments. And there are quite a number of the comments coming in. We may not be able to deal with all of that within the 2 hours. Honorable, thanks a lot for coming and making time to respond to the people. Yeah, that's what the people want. See you next week.
Thank you, people, for listening.